Madeline, won't you get even with me? I said this with a slight smile. My name is Madison. I used to be told my smile was cute, but now at 50, I'm starting to worry about laugh lines. I've given up on anti-aging skincare and just believe these lines add a mature charm to my face. A woman's best feature is her smile, even if it's a little wrinkled, right? At least, I think so. Today, I want to share a story from back when I was in my 30s, still relatively free from wrinkles. Or maybe my forehead was starting to show its age a bit. Anyways, I was young. Would you like to listen? At that time, I was 29 years old. I had been married for 4 years to Samuel, who was the same age as me. And I was getting the hang of being a homemaker. Life was smooth sailing, or so it seemed. Then my husband got transferred. The assignment was supposed to last 1 year, but nothing was certain. Plus, after coming back, there was a possibility we could get relocated again, and nothing was set in stone. To top it off, it was also time to renew our apartment lease. If my husband returned earlier than expected, we'd incur an early termination fee. And if we renewed the lease, he might get assigned to a new location soon after. My husband assured me that these constant relocations would slow down in our 30s as he rose through the ranks. Promotion was guaranteed once he got through this string of transfers. Since we were planning to raise our kids in a home of our own, we wanted to save as much money as possible. So why didn't I go with him? My mother, who raised me on her own, had fallen ill about 6 months ago and was hospitalized. If I went with my husband, visiting her in the hospital would involve flying, which wasn't practical. I couldn't do that 2 or 3 times a week just to bring her laundry, nor could I rush to her side in case of an emergency. Furthermore, I was an only child. My mother could only rely on me. So, after talking it over with my husband, we decided on a temporary separation. He wasn't thrilled about leaving me alone in a cheap apartment with lax security. The area we lived in had its fair share of safety issues back then. But at the same time, I couldn't stray too far from my mom's hospital. At that point, my husband suggested that we move in with his mother, Madeline. We were close friends, frequently visiting each other's homes, so we thought it would work out well. Around that time, it had been 6 months since Madeline's husband passed away. She seemed lonely in her big, empty house, especially now that her kids were grown and her husband was gone. So she was absolutely thrilled at the idea of having me live with her, even if it was just for a short while. I thought living with Madeline would be fun, so I agreed. But looking back, the timing was terrible for everything. About a month after I moved in, my husband's sister Natalie returned to her family home to prepare for childbirth. Natalie is extremely selfish. She even complains that her father's funeral service was boring and long. Of course, Madeline and my husband condemned her for it. Natalie seemed oblivious to why everyone was angry, and I found it hard to get along with her. However, Madeline was very protective of her daughter. Natalie had been a premature baby and was critically ill at birth. So Madeline never took her eyes off her and was perpetually worried, even after she grew up healthy. While Madeline didn't love Natalie more than her other children, She was clearly more attentive to her needs. Even at the funeral, my husband was the one who scolded Natalie the most. I had a good relationship with Madeline, but the balance felt threatened when Natalie moved in. I was secretly worried. "Hey, Madison, get me some coffee," Natalie would say. Sure." Ever since she returned home, Natalie treated me like her personal assistant. As the wife of their son who was staying under their roof, I felt I couldn't object and just obeyed. At first, Madeline tried to help me, but Natalie kept saying, "Madison is inexperienced as a wife. She needs to learn housework on her own." So Madeline gradually stepped back. 2 weeks after sister-in-law moved back home, the situation was as follows. Madeline was giving me all the chores, sister-in-law was lounging around as usual, and I was the only one constantly working. Even Madeline, who initially felt bad about giving me extra work, was now like, "Just do the usual, will ya?" It's scary how quickly you can get used to things. Before I knew it, I found myself acting like a maid in my in-laws' house. Then one day, Madeline got gastroenteritis. Luckily, my sister-in-law and I weren't infected. With my sister-in-law being pregnant and Madeline being contagious, it made sense to keep them apart, but sister-in-law took it to an extreme. "Don't come to me right after visiting, Mom. Take a shower first." She demanded I wash off any potential viruses or germs. Ugh, I don't even want to walk past Mom's room. Why don't you sleep with her? Your room is far from hers. I'll use it. She even went so far as to kick me out of my room. For the record, Madeline got angry, asking who would support my sister-in-law if I got infected. So I ended up sleeping in the living room that night. I would have preferred using my sister-in-law's room, but she lashed out, saying, "You want to sleep in a pregnant woman's room when you might be carrying viruses or germs? Are you kidding me?" So I just decided it was easier to sleep in the living room. Honestly, her words made me want to cringe. And this is her own mother we're talking about. I was pretty ticked off, but I refrained from confronting her directly. I vented my frustrations to my husband, and even thought about ending this whole living with the in-laws situation. But I stayed silent. I didn't want to burden my husband, who's already working hard for our future. He's on the cusp of a promotion because of this transfer. Since he's giving his best, I thought I should too. Then, a few days later, Madeline's stomach flu was finally gone, and this happened on the day after she had self-isolated for another 3 days. I was bringing laundry down from the second floor when I saw Madeline and sister-in-law in the study. I was shocked. Madeline was comforting a crying sister-in-law. What happened now? Is this just another case of pregnancy hormones? Then Madeline, filled with anger, glared at me. "You're such a disappointment." I was stunned, clueless about what was going on. "Madison, you berated my daughter behind my back while I was sick in bed?" "Wait, I never said anything like that." "My daughter said you yelled at her to look after me. Her stomach hurt so bad from the stress, she asked for an ambulance, but you ignored her." What are you talking about, mother-in-law?" The moment I showed a worried expression, my sister-in-law flashed a malicious grin. "Look, Mom, Madison is panicking. You must have hit a nerve. And here I am, about to give birth. So cruel. I never thought my son's wife would be like this. I've always liked how you handle things seriously. Please, just listen to me. No matter what I said, Madeline just wouldn't listen. Well, from Madeline's perspective, I was the daughter-in-law who ignored her pregnant daughter's abdominal pain, so I get it. Seriously, no one but my family should be ordering me around. Telling a pregnant woman to care for a sick mother is just outrageous. I'm truly shocked, Madison. If you can't obey my daughter, you don't have a place in this house. Change your attitude or leave. How can I get them to understand? Or maybe, just maybe, it's time to leave this house without telling my husband. Just as I thought this, suddenly my sister-in-law started feeling labor pains. It was time to go to the hospital. She probably got excited about setting me up. She was certainly grinning maliciously. From there, it was all chaos. Even Madeline, who was supposed to dislike me, needed any help she could get and asked for my support. Part of me wanted to ignore her, but the unborn child is innocent. Madeline and I united, got sister-in-law to the maternity clinic, and she safely gave birth to a baby girl. After the birth, sister-in-law naturally wanted to care for her own baby, and Madeline couldn't wait to help. So I was left to manage just the household chores by myself. A month flew by, and sister-in-law went back to her husband's place. But the tension was palpable the first time Madeline and I were alone again. So I decided to go ahead with the plan I'd been warming up to, even if it meant taking a risk. Madeline, can we talk? What is it? Madeline's voice was icy. Well, can't blame her. Do you know that your daughter is actually being nice to you just to get her hands on your inheritance? That's impossible! Don't lie to me again. I'm grateful for your help during her childbirth, and I'm keeping you in this house just out of kindness. Whether you believe me or not is up to you, but please listen to what I have to say till the end. If you spout nonsense, I won't listen. I won't spout nonsense. Just listen to this. With that, I played a voice recording. Ah, long time no see, Liam. How've you been? Yup, getting ready for childbirth, so I'm back at my parents' place. It's so easy with my sister-in-law doing everything. What we heard was sister-in-law's voice. Madeline also found herself listening intently to her daughter's voice. My husband? He has no idea. He thinks it's his child, but it's actually Liam's. How about you? Any chance you'll be leaving your wife? I plan on telling my husband that he hit me or something, and then running back to my parents' place to file for divorce. I'll milk him for all he's worth in the divorce settlement, haha. My mom, no worries, she loves me. She's not gonna suspect a thing. And before she kicks the bucket, I'll make sure she writes a will leaving everything to me. My family's pretty wealthy, you know, so the inheritance should be sizable. Let's buy a house and enjoy life together. For now, I gotta keep buttering up my mom. It's a pain, but it works in my favor. She's old. It won't be long before she's just an inheritance. It turns out sister-in-law's child wasn't her husband's, but the result of an affair with a married man. Listening to their conversations, it seems they plan to divorce each other's spouses while keeping their affair a secret, and then start over together. Even though Madeline is getting on in years, she's still full of life. Despite this, they appear to be counting on Madeline's inheritance as funds for their new life together, or perhaps as a future nest egg. I noticed that my sister-in-law was often on her cell phone, having long conversations in her room. So, during a cleaning break, I planted a hidden voice recorder in sister-in-law's room and successfully recorded her. Madeline was trembling as the recording ended. I thought she was a daughter I could be proud of. What a betrayal! With that, Madeline slammed her fist on the table. I'm sure that even my husband, who isn't here, has never seen Madeline get angry at her beloved daughter like that. Feeling like I had gained a small victory, I secretly smiled to myself. Still doubting me? By the way, that story sister-in-law told about having stomach pains and me nursing her, that was a lie too. I don't doubt you. I'm sorry for not listening to your side of the story, Madison. I guess I was biased towards my own daughter. Can you forgive me? It's only natural to believe your own daughter over a daughter-in-law. It shows how kind-hearted you are, Madeline. Oh. Madeline started to tear up at my words. Apparently, she was just a cash cow with an inheritance in the eyes of the daughter she loved and believed in unconditionally. It was only natural for her to cry. Madeline, how about we give them a taste of their own medicine? I said, flashing a warm smile. 3 months went by. I got a call on my cell phone from my sister-in-law. Hello? Madison, my mom's not picking up her phone. And you sent that secret recording of me to my husband, didn't you? No, that was Madeline's doing. What? Just as sister-in-law lost her words, I switched my phone to speaker mode so Madeline could join the conversation. That's right. I'm the one who sent your cheating evidence to your husband. Well, I did make the recording, so there's that. Hearing our words, sister-in-law could only stammer. What? What's going on? Mom, why would you? Could it be? Yes, not only about the affair. We also know all about how you've been calling Madeline the inheritance lady. Hold on, Mom. That's just Madison lying. I never said or did anything like that, believe me. That raspy voice in the recording is unmistakably yours. At Madeline's words, I couldn't help but burst into laughter. You see, sister-in-law had a very distinctive, gravelly voice, like someone who had perhaps been scorched by alcohol. There's no mistaking that voice. Anyone would recognize it as sister-in-law's instantly. The moment we got that audio evidence, our victory was all but guaranteed. So, how did your husband react to the recording? The fact that you're headed back to your parents means, did he serve you divorce papers? I asked, holding back a chuckle. Exactly. Okay. I got kicked out of the house by my husband. I was planning to go back to my parents' house with my child. And what do I see? A for sale sign on the property. Well, that's because we sold the house. That's not what I'm asking. Why did you sell it? An increasingly frustrated sister-in-law faced my vague responses. We thought you'd come crawling back if that house was involved. We knew that your husband would push for divorce after hearing that recording. We assumed you'd have no choice but to turn to us. It was all Madison's idea, and we acted on it first. So you did all this to avoid me? Exactly. Sister-in-law was silent for a moment, digesting what Madeline had said. Then she spoke up. So you won't tell me where you are living now? What am I supposed to do? A single mother with a child. Don't you feel sorry for me? Madeline firmly responded, Not at all. You say Mom, but you're really just after the inheritance, aren't you? Hey, kids can grow up with just a mom. Mine did. Unbelievable! I'm the eldest daughter, you know. How can you treat me like this? We don't have an eldest daughter in this family. What? Sister-in-law emitted a foolish-sounding noise, as if hearing this for the first time. Right now, I'm living with Madison, and I have no intention of telling you where. This is the end for us. All the inheritance will go to my only son and Madison. You're no longer a daughter or anything else to me. Wait, Mom! Shut up! Stop calling me Mom to butter me up. You should just call it what it has always been. The inheritance. But please, wait. I won't even get child support. Help me, Mom! Quit your shrieking. With that, Madeline hung up the phone just as sister-in-law was about to emotionally manipulate her. She ignored all subsequent calls from sister-in-law. The aftermath: sister-in-law ended up being a single mother, overwhelmed by payments for damages claimed by both her former husband and her affair partner's wife. It seems the man sister-in-law had an affair with never intended to marry her in the first place. He was just playing with fire, but somehow ended up getting her pregnant. By the time she reached her second trimester, she told him she was keeping the baby. According to her ex-husband, it was likely a planned pregnancy and childbirth on sister-in-law's part, aimed at remarrying her affair partner. Her ex-husband, who had been in contact since sending the recording, apparently managed to avoid paying child support and remarried. Although they hadn't been close, he was a genuinely good, mild-mannered man. I sincerely hope he finds happiness this time around. Today, I'm living happily as a family of 6. My husband, who successfully relocated and got a promotion, Madeline, our 2 daughters, and my biological mother. I told my husband I wanted to continue living with Madeline. After all, the reason for the coldness between Madeline and me was my sister-in-law's doing. And now that it's cleared up, I have no reason to dislike her. Madeline was delighted to hear this, but still felt regretful for the misunderstanding she had caused. As a result, she offered to contribute to the cost of our dream home. My husband, after learning the full story, was a bit angry and said, "So that's what was going on with Madison while I was away." However, since I wasn't angry and it was all a misunderstanding, plus Madeline's offer to contribute to our home, we considered the matter closed. By the way, my husband also felt regret for not being there, even though he didn't know about it. Well, I never really told him. So he suggested, if I can live with my parents, then Madison should live with hers as well. My mother had also recovered her health and was leading a normal life, so we were very grateful. I think to myself, what a great husband I have. Our home has become quite lively, but we are enjoying every day. We were worried if Madeline and my mom would get along, but they became incredibly close since they're close in age. Now they even go to jazz bars together. Our daughters also seem to feel that living with both grandmothers is beneficial, as they're learning traditional home-cooked recipes. Despite the ups and downs, every day is a happy one.